Welcome to the deep dive. Tonight, we're heading to Pune in India to explore, well, a really captivating story of Shaniwarwada Fort. We've got an audio narrative as our guide here, and our mission really is to dig into the history and, the enduring legend around this palace. It was once grand, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A fascinating place. Shaniwarwada, as our source points out, was this really vital royal fortress. We're talking 18th century.
Right.
Think of it as like the nerve center for the Maratha Empire, which was incredibly powerful then.
Exactly. But now, well, the narrative paints a picture of it mostly in ruins. Kind of a stark reminder, I suppose.
Yeah, a big contrast to its former glory.
Yeah.
But it's definitely more than just, weathered stones. There's something else there.
There is, isn't there? A real mystery, something that keeps people intrigued even now.
For sure. The narrative really focuses on one persistent element, this legend of a haunting cry, tied directly to the fort.
A haunting cry. Okay.
Yeah, it's a story that's clearly, stuck around,
Right.
resonated through generations.
Okay, so let's start unpacking that. Our source introduces us to Narayan Rao Peshwa. Who was he, and why is his story so central to all this?
Well, Narayan Rao Peshwa was a young prince who became the Peshwa, that's essentially the prime minister, the sort of de facto ruler of the Maratha Empire.
Okay.
And he took power when he was just 16 years old, incredibly young.
16, wow. That seems potentially problematic.
Absolutely. I mean, such a rapid rise to power, especially at that age, it often leads to instability, doesn't it? You see it all the time in history.
Yeah, navigating those power dynamics must have been tough.
Exactly. Lack of established alliances, maybe older fighters feeling overlooked. And these kinds of power struggles were apparently quite common in the Maratha Empire around that time.
Right. And it seems like even inside Shaniwarwada's walls, things weren't exactly safe. The narrative mentions betrayal, palace intrigue. Sounds pretty tense.
Well, yeah. Any major power center, especially one led by someone so young, you're going to get factions, people jockeying for influence.
Makes sense.
So the source mentioning plots, it suggests, a climate of suspicion, maybe real danger for Narayan Rao. What do you think might have fueled that instability specifically there?
Well, like you said, maybe his youth made him seem vulnerable, a target for people who thought they should be in charge or just disagreed with him. And that danger, well, our source says it became very real. Assassins.
Yes, the narrative describes this incredibly violent event, assassins sent in the dead of night.
Chilling.
It really highlights the risks, doesn't it? Even inside what should be the safest place, a fortified palace.
And in those last moments, apparently, as he was being chased through the palace, he cried out.
He did. Kaka, Malavachva, which translates to Uncle Save Me. It's just so raw, that detail. Who was this Kaka? Was it a specific person?
Yes, Kaka usually means paternal uncle, and in this case, it's believed he was calling out to his actual uncle, Raghunath Rao.
Who's in the palace?
Is right there, yes. And the real tragedy, the sort of core of the legend, is that the help he begged for, it never came. So that plea just went unanswered, and Narayan Rao was murdered inside the fort.
Brutal. Just 16. Such a position of power cut down like that.
A truly horrible end.
And definitely a pivotal moment for Shaniwarwada. It clearly left a huge mark, not just physically on the ruins, but on how people remembered the place.
Right.
And it's this event, this awful injustice that many believe is the root of that whole chilling legend we're talking about.
Which brings us right back to the mystery, doesn't it? The eternal scream. Locals, even today, believe his final cry, that terror, the betrayal, it's somehow still trapped there in the ruins.
It's a powerful idea, isn't it? That intense emotion could sort of imprint itself onto a place.
Yeah. Beyond just the ghost story aspect, what does a legend like that tell us about how we remember or maybe process traumatic history?
Well, it's fascinating how a specific historical event like this assassination becomes the bedrock for such a lasting legend.
Yeah.
It kind of suggests the tragedy, the injustice of it all was so profound, it just transcended the actual event. It became woven into the folklore. The legend almost acts as a vehicle, allowing that trauma to still be felt, still be remembered.
And it's not just some vague, spooky feeling, is it? The narrative describes something very specific.
Very specific.
On full moon nights, supposedly, you can hear this faint, chilling cry, a boy's voice, saying those exact words, Kaka, Malavachva, near the ruins.
That specificity, the exact words, the full moon timing that really amps up the legend's power, doesn't it?
It does.
It takes it from just a general haunted place feeling to something almost predictable, part of the local lore.
And people have apparently actually heard it. The narrative mentions visitors claiming they've heard the cry near the gates, some reacting with real fear.
Yeah, and these personal accounts, these reported experiences,
Hmm.
that's what keeps these legends breathing, really.
It really does. It makes you wonder how these stories get passed down, why they grip us centuries later, you know?
Absolutely. Whether it's an actual sound or maybe a psychological response because the story is so well known,
Yeah.
or something else entirely.
Who knows?
Right. But the fact that people claim to hear it is key. It keeps the legend potent.
There's also that other detail, the shadowy figure.
The visual element.
Some people reporting seeing a small boy running across the grounds and then just vanishing.
Yeah, that adds another layer, doesn't it? A visual echo of the tragedy, a fleeting glimpse of a child in distress. That can be incredibly unsettling if you believe you've seen it.
It definitely adds to the whole atmosphere. And this isn't just dismissed as folklore either. The government, the Indian government, has actually banned entry to Shaniwar Wada after sunset.
Which is pretty unusual, right?
Very unusual for a government to sort of acknowledge a supernatural claim like that, even indirectly, by putting up a ban.
It is significant. You don't often see official action based on legends like this. It really shows how powerful, or at least how impactful, these reports are locally.
And the reason given, according to our source, it's quite striking.
What do they say?
It's not, worries about wild animals or people falling in the dark. It's specifically because of the unbearable scream.
Wow, okay. That really elevates the legend within the narrative itself.
It does.
It presents the government's action as a direct response to the haunting, suggesting some level of, official recognition.
Yeah.
Even if it's implicit.
And there's even a warning for you, the listener. If you ever go there, to Shaniwar Wada, on a full moon night,
Okay.
the narrative advises if you hear that cry, don't respond, don't answer it.
Right, that adds this layer of potential interaction. Like the past isn't just echoing, it might actually reach out.
Exactly. It taps into that sort of primal fear of the unknown, doesn't it? Engaging with something beyond our normal understanding.
Yeah, it reinforces the idea that maybe it isn't just a story. Maybe there's some lingering presence, maybe even some kind of power there.
So ultimately, this whole deep dive into Shaniwar Wada's story, it really highlights these themes of tragedy and how history can just kind of hang heavy in the air. A young ruler, betrayed, murdered, leaving behind not just ruins, but this echo, this ghost of a scream.
It's such a potent reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
How huge historical events, especially ones filled with that much intense emotion, that much injustice, they can leave this deep, lasting mark.
On a place, on memory.
Exactly. The legend becomes the way that tragedy keeps being felt, keeps being remembered, generation after generation.
So as we wrap up this look at Shaniwar Wada and the legend of the boy's cry,
Yeah.
it leaves you with something to think about, perhaps.
Yeah.
Just that some historical tragedies seem to have this resonance that, well, it defies time, doesn't it? It keeps echoing, makes you reflect on the sheer weight, the power of the past.
Please subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to create even more great content for you. Thank you so much.